Hey everybody, Zeal Brothers here once again with another video. This one, a response to the story in Los Angeles, California, where the county sheriff, Alex Villanueva, is railing against the vaccine mandate. And he says it's causing a mass exodus in his department and threatens public safety at a time when violent crime is on the rise. I have repeatedly stated the dangers to public safety when 20 to 30% of my workforce is no longer available to provide service, and those dangers are quickly becoming a reality. We are experiencing an increase in unscheduled retirements, worker compensation claims, employees quitting, and a reduction in qualified applicants. Now, when you look at the Los Angeles police sheriffs and what's going on there, it kind of speaks to this larger issue. And let's just talk about this. The first thing that people need to know is that the COVID situation and those who choose to get vaccinated versus those who don't is not necessarily a right versus left issue. And I know people always try to situate it that way, but you have to think about the fact that before the last presidential election, Trump was pushing people to get vaccinated and Kamala Harris was not. So there are some on the right who have gotten vaccinated. There are some on the left who refuse to. And if you want to look at it in a political sense, it appears to be that more right-wing people are more distrusting of vaccinations. That is true. But if you look at populations as far as nationalities, it appears that blacks and then followed by Latinos are the most suspect of vaccinations. And this is just something that we just found. And blacks and Latinos are not known to be Republican strong voting groups. So there's something that we need to note here, right? The regular divide between left and right is not normal. The second thing I'll note about this Los Angeles story is this. What we are doing is we are punishing people who were on the front lines of this virus before there was even a vaccine. Many of these people got COVID serving the public. And now we're going to put restraints on them that they believe is not justified and cause them to lose their jobs when they were the ones who were putting themselves at danger in the first place. When we look at this vaccine issue, a lot of times what we have are people who are trying to make an informed decision. Some people believe in an informed decision that getting the vaccine is the smartest thing to do. Other people don't trust the vaccine. So you have these two groups, and then you have a third group that most people don't talk about, and that is those of us who have gotten COVID already and don't necessarily distrust the vaccine, but think we don't need it because we've already got natural immunity. So there are three groups, and people don't talk about that third group enough. And when you look at police officers, I feel that many of them fall into that third group that is not often discussed in the media. And the problem that I have is that this third group is oftentimes not a threat to the public. Now, let's just be fair. None of the groups is a threat to the public. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that no matter if you get vaccinated or not, you can still carry the virus. So I don't know where this myth came from that you are somehow protecting the community by getting the vaccine. That's a lie. I've seen a lot of people put that on Facebook. It's all a lie. The truth of the matter is that if you get the vaccine, it appears that you will simply shorten the duration of you getting COVID and you might lessen the severity of it. But that's not a guarantee. There's no guarantees in life. So I don't know why anybody is making these guarantee statements. There's no guarantees. What we know is that people who get the vaccine tend to have lesser severity. People who don't get the vaccine tend to have greater severity. But it's all based on your own natural immunities and your own ability to fight off viruses on your own as well. And people are making black and white statements where they shouldn't. So we have people who are trying to fight a virus that appears to have, let's just overestimate things. Let's say it has a 1% lethality. That means out of 100 people who got it, one person died. Now that's high. But let's just say that it is that. We are lowering response times to gang shootings. We are lowering the police force by 30% to fight a virus that kills 1%. Does that make sense to you? Imagine you are hiding in your living room. Somebody is banging on your door trying to bust in. You call the police. Normally it would take 2 minutes to get there. But because of a 30% increase in response times, what used to be 2 minutes is now 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, you may say that's not a lot of time, and I'll grant you, maybe it's not to you. But when you're sitting there in that house, 30 seconds feels like a lifetime. Lives can certainly be lost in that time. And what a lot of people don't recognize is that the decisions that you are making, pretending that you are, let me put it this way. Life is not only affected by COVID. If you are trying to act like COVID is the only threat to human life, you are being ignorant and ignoring the other causes of death that everybody else faces. Because most people will not die because of COVID. Most people will die because of something else. And that's just a fact of the matter. And so we need to face reality when we respond to COVID. Now, as Christians, what should we do? I am very much disturbed by how many churches are still closed or still have all these restrictions. At some point, you have to have some kind of faith in God, that God knew a virus is going to come, that God knew how worship should be conducted, and that he is willing to take the risk, and so should you. Now, some people are going to say, well, what if we go and we worship and we get our community sick? Listen, if you obey God and people get sick, that's going to be an acceptable cost to pay. You can't do anything of value without accepting some kind of risk. Look at the apostles who put their lives on the line. All kind of people have put their lives on the line for the gospel. And we got a big segment of churches that are putting their safety as a higher priority than to doing worship the right way. So I am very disappointed in a lot of churches out there who are still operating under restrictions and acting like this is the bubonic plague. Even if it was the bubonic plague, I will probably still be holding services. So we need to choose who is our master, our fear or our God. But for the rest of everybody else in public services, you need to look at reality and balance all the threats of life versus one particular threat of life. And you need to make common sense decisions instead of these panicked reactions that we see across some of the major cities in this country.